Facebook. You're tuning in to the Ruby Girl show with your favorite Ruby Girl, Dr. K. And tonight I have with me an awesome guest all the way from California, y'all, Dr. Nichole Pettway. Good evening, Dr. Nichole. How are you
Good
doing?
evening. I'm doing well, thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you are here. Let me tell you, her story is amazing. I want you to get ready for what she has to say. When she get finished tonight, we will have no excuses. Being tired, not having the resources. I mean, any excuse you come up with, she's going to put a cross through that and say, you can do it. Because this is a woman that has a gift of resilience. That's what I
Mhm,
want to call it, a gift of resilience. That just came to me. I just
mhm,
believe that God gives some of us that gift because some of us go through so many life changing and life stopping events, but we
mhm,
keep going and we keep pushing through and we
mhm,
persevere. And so, people always say life is hard, but life is easy for some people. I think the people that really have to go up the mountain, the rough side, they get up the mountain because if the mountain is smooth, it's harder for you to climb. And so that's
absolutely.
why their mountain is so rough, not even realizing that God is giving them a boost up, elevating them as they go through. So tonight, before we even get started, what I'm gonna do for you, Dr. Nichole, because I love you so much, girl, that I'm gonna personally go on my page and I'm gonna share this video. I'm gonna tag your people in this so that they can watch it. And then I'm
Mhm,
just going to do my famous commercial that's been on all the channels all over the world about Ruby Girl. So I am Dr. K, also known as your favorite Ruby Girl. I am the founder of Ruby Girl brand that comes from Proverbs 31 and 10. Who can find a virtuous woman for her price is far above the price of a ruby. So ladies, this special is for you only. It makes you virtual, valuable, and most certainly rare. So Ruby Girl is a platform created to help to elevate the value of women. And the reason why it was created because I started noticing women was not respected like they used to be respected. So somewhere along the way with us fighting for our rights and wanting to be equal, we got those things, but then we lost how people respected us as women and our worth and our value. We're just diminished. But with the Ruby Girl brand, we bringing it back. It's a movement to empower and inspire women to be like that Proverbs 31 and 10 woman. Use her as your mentor because that lady, she got things done and so can you. And so that's why Dr. Nichole is here today to tell you, sis, Ruby Girl, that you can do it. So, Dr. Nichole, I want to start off with an introduction, but before you introduce yourself, everybody that's out there, I want you to do me this big free favor. I want you to hit the share button. And we've been going through this every week, so I know y'all can close your eyes and hit that share button. All right, I don't have to give instructions, directions, or any of that. You are pros now at hitting that share button and sharing it on your page. So, Dr. Nichole, could you give us a short introduction of who you are?
All right. My name is Dr. Nichole Pettway, and I live in California. And I'm just so blessed to be here today. I work tirelessly to give back to my community, give back to the reentry community, give back to the disenfranchised, and mostly we formerly incarcerated individuals. And I have just prided myself in bettering myself so that I'm able to be the example for anyone who might have traveled down the same roads that I have traveled down. And so thank you. hmm
All right, give us your website for those that's just tuning in.
So my website is my name, how it's spelled, NicholePettway.com. So it's pretty easy for you to be able to find me. Or I am Nichole Pettway on Instagram and just Nichole Pettway on Facebook.
All right, Miss Petway, we got you. Now
Mhm.
we can get in touch with you. Now
Yeah.
we can connect with you, get coached by you, read your book, just and hear you speak, invite you out to motivate us. So, Dr. Nichole, So we're talked about your journey. Your life has really been a journey. It had a lot of twists, a lot of turns, a lot of real close to the curb, but you straightened it up. So, but you stayed the course, and that's what's so important. So tell us how your journey influenced you to become a motivational speaker, because you're not only a speaker, but you're an author and you are a coach, and you just do anything you need to do to get things done. But we just want to start off talking about how you was a motivational speaker, because that's how I met you. You were speaking at the Shine Fair Leadership Tour. She just came off tour this year, y'all, and that's how I met her. And her speech was awesome. So go ahead, Dr. Nichole.
Well, I came to California when I was about 15 years old from Boston, Massachusetts, and I was very influential, and very, I was looking to fit in, and I ended up fitting in a crowd that took me off to drugs, and a lot of the activities that I participated in led to me going in and out of jails and institutions. I suffered some childhood trauma growing up, and I believe that that kind of shaped the trajectory of my life, so to speak, in a way that, lowered my inhibitions so that participating in certain activities, became more, I was apt to participate in those activities without a problem. Being introduced to, sexual activity at an early age, and again, taking some of those ideals into my teenage years about, fair exchange, ain't no robbery type thing. And, really having that kind of mentality of hustling. And so in doing that, I dropped out of school in the eighth grade. And, I felt like what the streets had was more, to offer me more than what school had. And so, on that vicious cycle, by the time I was 19 years old, I was pregnant with my first child, who was born addicted to crack cocaine. And, I was in this pre-contemplative state of mind where I really, not only didn't I not see that there was a problem, but even if I saw it was a problem, I didn't have the wherewithal to stop. And so again, in and out of jails and institutions, for me, when I would get locked up, it would be a time of reflection for me. I would have these great intentions of when I was going to get out, that I would do this, that, or the other, and each time that I got out without having the resources, without having any plan, I would get out, I would get my $200 gate money from prison, and that cycle would continue on, no matter what my intentions were. I gave birth to my second child, who was born with multiple birth defects. And, and I knew that I had a problem with drugs, and I tried to stay, clean, but I wasn't working a real program of recovery. I wasn't surrounding myself with winners. I wasn't surrounding myself with folks who would be able to help me maneuver through these uncomfortable times, and being, and having a disabled daughter, and all the guilt and all the shame, and all the guilt and all the shame that came from, the circumstances around my first child. And, and that wasn't enough to stop me. I continued on. When I was about 24 years old, my mom passed away. And that for me was really a life-changing event, because my mom was my everything. And I had one of those type of God-fearing moms that I believe, had I not had the prayers that she would send out through the universe for me, that I may not be here today. But and again, a pair of handcuffs had to meet my divine intervention. And I wound up in Chowchilla State Prison for a third time, maxing out a W47204 California State Prison number, and pregnant with my third child. And if you could imagine, feeling that, suicide was the first option, because I could not see myself being a parent, getting out of jail. I knew they were going to take my baby at birth. I had 3 more years to serve in prison after he was born. And so it was, that moment of clarity where you say you either got to get busy living or you got to get busy dying. And I really, after my mom died, I really went on this like serious suicide mission. And then winding up in prison again was kind of like my rescue. And what I knew to be true is that every time I got out without a plan or without being connected, that I would get out and I would continue to use and until I wound back up in jail. And this one particular time, I decided to ask for some help. Before I got out, I was like, I don't know how to live life outside of the institution without without getting loaded and without drugs and criminal activity and just the mentality, the criminal mentality. And so I became teachable and I became so willing. I mean, that sense of desperation was a gift for me because I was willing to do anything that they said for me to do, not to feel the pain that I was feeling, not to continue to want to participate in self-suicide. And when I did something different, I got some different results. And I was successful for a good while. And we know that recovery and working a program of recovery is an ongoing journey. And so there is no graduation from that. There is no like you've made it to the top. And I would say around 10 years clean, I started to feel like really complacent in my recovery. And when you stop working on your recovery, you start working on your relapse. And so even after 14 years of not being in the system and not, being in jail, when I started using again, every time I use, I lose, and then I lost everything once again. And in 2009, January 2009, getting released from prison again, no skills, no trade, no high school diploma. I really needed to do something different so that I would have a purpose, a fulfilling life. And so I decided to go back to school, and I decided to go back to school to get, my high school diploma because, it was kind of embarrassing, to me. I was blessed to give birth to 2 more children clean in that first stint of continuous recovery. And it was an absolute blessing for me, to be able to experience giving birth to a child and actually being able to bring him home. And so,
Can I ask you,
yeah, come on.
so quick question. Sorry to interrupt you, but I had to
That's
ask
okay.
this. It
Yes.
seemed like you needed structure.
Yes.
It seems like when you get into addiction, what a lot of people don't like is that structure. Sometimes, how can I put it? It's kind of some people rebel against. It's a form of rebellion for some people
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
get into addictions because I'm dealing with somebody that I know that has an addiction, and you know how you said you had all these plans when you get out, you was gonna do this, and they talk big. That's what I
Yeah.
noticed. They talk really
Mhm.
big.
And
It
they're intense.
sounds,
They mean it. They mean it
yeah,
at that
they
moment. They
mean it.
mean it with every fiber of their being. They
Yes.
envision themselves getting out and being productive members of society. But, statistics have shown that if a person is getting released from an institution that does not have a connection to resources, that does not know how to navigate through the judicial system, does not know how to tap into the services that are available for them through the California, well, for me, the Department of Corrections in California. So when I got plugged in, things started to happen for me. And I can tell you, I only had a mustard seed of belief in myself, right? I didn't see myself being able to complete a high school diploma, but I did it because there were other people that were there who believed in me and was willing to go along that journey with me and hold my hand. because that's what I needed at the time. And yes, I needed the structure so that I could make a plan. And how do I end my recidivism? How do I end this vicious cycle that I continue to go on and continue to hurt my family and my children? And, so.
Is this why you started your Building Bridges Foundation?
Well, after that GED, I went on to City College and completed 7 certifications in almost 5 years at City College. And again, I had professors that convinced me, that I was capable of completing a bachelor's degree in business management, and I did that, and I tell you, when you get embraced with the atmosphere of education and you get embraced with the atmosphere of recovering, it's a spiritual awakening that happens. And when your spirit starts to wake up, when you've been through so many things like I've been through, and your spirit starts to wake up because someone else took that time for you, I believe it's our duty that we're supposed to give that back. We're supposed to, pay that forward to someone else who is in similar situations. And so, I lost my dad last year, and it was like my last parent, and it was very hard for me to lose my dad,
Sorry to hear
and I
that.
slipped into a bit of a depression, and I just, I sought help. I sought the help through my peers. I sought the help through the people that I knew that loved me the most, and I didn't keep quiet about it. When I realized that I was isolating and so forth, and then one day I just woke up and I was different.
Hmm.
I no longer felt like I had the weight of the world on my shoulders. I no longer felt like I owed anyone anything. I have always told my children that my actions today will speak louder than any apologies that I could ever verbally give you, and so I decided I started to write my book, which is Against All Odds.
Hmm.
And it is, touching just you know, um,
Could we
the
back
tip
up
of the iceberg.
just a little
Yes.
bit? We're gonna talk about your book on the second part.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but could you tell us about Building Bridges Foundation? Because this is so important what you do. And I definitely want the audience to know what you do and how you give back. Yeah.
Thank you. So,
Uh-huh.
Building Bridges Foundation is a nonprofit organization that works with folks who are pre-release and post-release, and we try to make sure that folks get connected on the outside, even before release, so that they are able to access the services in whatever area that they live in. I also have a curriculum that I created called Building Bridges, and it is the kind of curriculum that would be, I would say, appropriate for anyone who is either in the institution, going to be getting out, somebody who's out and still trying to find some direction. Yeah, so Building Bridges Foundation, is really working with the community, working with the probation department, working with the parole department and various other community-based organizations, to really help that reentry back into the communities, in a safe way, that may entail getting in touch with a shelter, or it could be someone who really needs transitional housing, being able to find those types of resources that are available. And so that's what we do at Building Bridges, because there's sometimes you feel like you're on this like little island by yourself, and
Yes.
you don't know how to get to the other side,
Yes.
and so it's kind of like, it's building that bridge to shore, building that bridge to resilience and courage, and all of those things and tools that it takes, to succeed.
Because I couldn't imagine you in prison for like 30 years. And so you get out. And so in 30 years, you done lost a lot of contacts. A lot of things have
Mm,
changed.
family.
You might have lost touch with your family in 30 years
Mhm,
because let's be
mhm.
honest, in about 30 days or 30 months, people going on living on, living their lives, and they know
Absolutely.
you there. It's kind of like on
Mhm,
Facebook, how you don't reach out to your friends and family because you can just go on their page and they're there,
mhm,
see they okay. And so I
mhm.
can't imagine getting out after 30 years, not having any resources, not having any friends on the outside. It's like you just starting over and things that used to be familiar with you are not. Imagine you go
Yeah.
in before there was cell phones, you get out
Mhm,
now they got
absolutely.
cell phones. You see, I mean, it's a totally different world, but you're there to bridge that gap. And that's what I love. Do you
Mhm.
just work with people that's in California?
Well, no, I mean, it's so what my goal is in your podcast or anyone else's podcast is to get the word out that Building Bridges Foundation is available to anyone in any state, and that you just need to contact me, and myself and my team can find out the resources in whatever city and county that you are paroling to. If you have a family member who is in custody who could use some reentry resources, contact me, NicholePettway.com. Contact me, and we will find those resources in that community. You can give us that person's information. We'll write them in jail, and we'll open up a line of communication with them so that we can start planning for their release and planning for them to not just hit the street, but to hit a solid foundation of folks that will be there for them. And and
So
and
so
so
how
that's
long should it be before they get out? A month, a year?
you know, I would say a year to 6 months to the gate.
Okay.
And do as much programming as you can, while you're in custody. I know some folks who have done an enormous amount of time and have come home hitting the ground running and really eager to make some changes, and it's because they participated in pre-release um activities and in custody.
Okay. And I remember back in the days that in prison, people used to be able to get counseling, different resources, better themselves. They tried to rehabilitate, the
Mhm.
prisoners. Do you think now that it's less about rehabilitation, but them just doing their time and getting you through the system?
No, I think it's more about rehabilitation.
Good.
I mean, that's one thing I can say about California is, even, within the last 20 years, they have changed their acronym of Department of Corrections to Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, because, there became a time when there was a responsibility from the Department of Corrections to provide the services, to lessen the overcrowdedness of our facilities. In 2011, California adopted the AB 109 legislation, where folks who were in jail, who were on nonviolent crimes, non-sexual crimes, and low-level crimes, were able to be released to the street, sort of like on a medium level of security. And since then, programs just continue to increase the chances of someone ending their recidivism and not returning back to custody. And I would say that California has pioneered in that in a great way from my experience. I mean, there may be, others who have experienced other counties who are doing the same thing, and that's amazing. Those are the communities that we will tap into if it's somebody that is not in California, and we'll find out what's available for them.
I like that. I like that you not only did you get out, but you going back. to
Oh,
help
yes.
others. You like the
Yes, I do.
Harriet Tubman. I call it the Harriet Tubman effect. Is when somebody
Absolutely.
comes out of something, but yet
Yeah.
they go back to help others to come out of it also. So I love it. So we're going to take a 1 minute break. And
Okay.
so while we take the 1 minute break, Dr. Nichole, I'm gonna go look on Facebook, see if anybody have any questions, any
Good.
comments. And we definitely in the second half, we're gonna talk about your two books, especially your newest book that's out. And we're gonna get a little bit deeper into what you have been accomplishing since you've been out. So you got 1 minute to say whatever you need to say, but make sure you give your contact information at the end. So you ready?
All right.
All right, let's go, Dr. Nichole.
My name is Nichole Pettway, Dr. Nichole Pettway, and I can be reached at NicholePettway.com or on Instagram. I am Nichole Pettway, how it's spelled, NicholePettway.com. Thank you.
Hey man, you didn't have anything mind blowing to tell us? Anything you wanted to impart into our life since we're
Well,
here?
I can tell you that, you know, um, digging deep down into your soul and finding a will, to make it out of some of the toughest times, takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of perseverance, and it's not a job that we can do alone because we can do together much more than what we can do alone. And so I just extend myself to anyone who wants to reach out. I am also a marriage and family child therapist. I have a clinical master's degree. And so I am multifaceted in many, many different curriculums. And so I am available for coaching. I am available, for a number of different facilitation opportunities as well.
There we go. They wanted to know who is Dr. Nichole. We need to know what Dr. Nichole do, how we can connect with Dr. Nichole, and what she can do for me. So here's some of the
Mhm.
comments that we have. We have one person. This kind of help is so needed. My son had such a hard time, even though he had lots of family support. She was talking about when her son came out. And then it says, somebody coming, they said, "Oh, it's so awesome. This is so awesome and needed." And another comment about this being needed. And then somebody said, unfortunately, that's not how the Michigan DOC works. A lot of education
Mhm.
programs have been cut. And let me see, are there programs for more violent crimes to help? Those people always, those that do violent crimes, it seems always to be left behind purposely. That's a question
Mhm.
for you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, people have to be ready when they're ready, right? There are a lot of folks who have a lot of ambivalence to change. When you've been doing something over and over and over again, the repetition of it is very difficult to break. And
Mm-hmm.
so, it takes different things for different people. What I know today is that, it's not a cookie cutter process. Some folks, need therapy. Some folks need, family therapy and able to, get their children, in a conversation so that your lives start to thrive, and you just find those God shots and you just continue to keep, moving forward. And there are a lot of services in the institution that would help somebody who is doing in that kind of time.
So do you think and it was a great question. I never thought about this that with violent offenders, it seems like they're just waiting, just keeping the cell open for them because they like, I know they're going to do this again. They almost feel like violent offenders are harder to rehabilitate than people that may be in there for drugs or, theft or, I wouldn't say a light crime, but not, like if somebody's done killed two people, three people, or something like that, they look for them to do it again. So do you think there's a bias towards violent offenders versus somebody that might be in there for something related to drug use or, you know?
I don't know. I work with everyone, whether or not they're in there for a violent crime or not. The groups that I do, anyone is welcome, so long as they are willing to follow the agreements of the group. And again, folks have to reach out. to get the help that they need. And I know that there are a lot of institutions that are helping folks in the institution. I don't believe that once a pickle, no longer a cucumber. I don't believe that people are not able to change. Of course, statistically, you look at the rate of folks who are released from prison, and the level of crime that they previous commit and the amount of time that they've done would definitely, I would think, dictate their behavior once they hit the street.
Okay. All right. I want to thank everybody out there that made comments. I didn't put names out there because some of y'all shared some things and might not want to see me in the video, but I want to thank everybody that watched and everybody that commented. So now we're on the second part of the show, and we're going to talk about one of her newest books. Let's back up. So in June, Dr. Nichole Pettway received the honorary doctorate from TIUA, and I was honored to be there to see her get her honorary doctorate and to serve her as one of the alumni. And so she was part of an anthology that they did. So tell us about Moguls Unleashed.
Yeah, the anthology it was such a pleasure to be a part of writing my chapter. My chapter was about working in the trenches, working with grassroots outreach and crisis intervention. And so all of the graduates, we got an opportunity, basically based on the genre of work that we do, to create a chapter that was dedicated to, just reaching as many people as we could on the platform, and being able to just show that, women are powerful, and we are writing stories, and we are giving back, and we are opening up doors for other women also to to get their just due and get their get their name out there, and just share a little piece of themselves with the world. And that's what I felt like we did in that anthology. Is I felt like I was able to share myself
I, I was
with the women.
impressed because when I graduated, we didn't have all that.
That's
So
that's
graduation from TIUA gets better and better.
better
Shout
and
out to
better.
Dr. Jacqueline Mohair for the doors that she
Absolutely.
opened and how she is elevating people and recognizing people for the work that they have done in the community. And we were talking about it when I pre-call, and I was telling Dr. Nichole, I said, for me, it redeemed some things. It was spiritual going through the
Mhm.
process to get the honorary doctorate. It wasn't so much about the honorary doctorate, it was about you being able to finally see how God has been using you in the earth. And I can tell you this, Dr. Nichole, just from reading how you was in high school with a 1.8 GPA to graduating summa cum laude, how God can just take you from that person that everybody looked down on and think you would never achieve to now you're a person with an honorary degree. You have
Yes.
received the presidential award, lifetime achievement award. You are a counselor. You have a master's. And it's like you would never know. If anybody looked at you, they were like, oh, she came from a two-parent household and she probably, life was just great and perfect for her. But I want to say, I just acknowledge your achievements. I want to thank you for the work that you're doing in the community. And especially now she has a new book out, y'all. And
Yes,
it's
I
so
do.
appropriate for her life. Against All Odds, a
Yes, yes, yes,
triumphant journey from addiction and incarceration. So tell us, you told us your life story. So kind of tell us your end story a little bit of how you came out of the addiction, because I know it's in the book. So
yes.
don't. So leave us with a cliffhanger, okay?
Yeah, what I really, really wanted to show is that childhood trauma can change the way we view the world, can change how safe we feel in the world. And it really just it shaped a lot for me, and it took for me to deal with some of my childhood trauma in order for me to heal. It took for me to look at the damage that the trauma had done, and then also be accountable for my own behavior, in understanding had I not been under the influence, I would not have done or behaved in the way that I have behaved while under the influence. And so, not, not being able to give my children up, any of those things, I believe that had I been in my right mind and in my right spirit, those things would not have taken place. So it was definitely a healing journey. I mean, I did 5 years of therapy, and then of course getting my clinical master's degree as a therapist took a lot of therapy because you have to do therapy as well. And it has just been a healing journey for me. And so the book talks about what that journey looks like and what it took for me. It definitely was an uphill battle, but as you said, had it been easy, I probably would not have reached the heights that I have reached. And one of the things I talk about in my book is that all of the experiences that we have experienced, when we start looking at the value in the experience, when we start looking at the character building experiences that we've come through, because it has made me stronger, it has made me more resilient. And today I value my freedom. Today I value the relationship that I have with my children and my 10 beautiful grandchildren who've never seen me get loaded before. You understand? And
Yes.
so that's what the book talks about. It talks about that my word today means something, and that the integrity and the honesty, and just doing the next right thing for the next right reason when nobody is looking. Right. So developing that integrity, for me, in wanting to be, I wanted to leave a legacy for my children. Right. I wanted to let them know that, although all of the stuff that I've come through, that we are able to persevere, we are able to come through some of the hottest times, and we can come out on top, you know. And I feel pretty good about it.
So just getting clean wasn't enough.
It
You
wasn't
know,
enough.
because some people are like, whew, I made
Yeah.
it. I'm out. Okay, now I'm gonna live my
Mhm,
life like I want to live it. But
mhm,
something made you become Moses, made you
mhm,
go back to Egypt.
mhm.
Was it a God calling? Did you feel like God
Oh,
just spoke
yes.
to you and said, "Hey, Nichole, I need you to be my Moses to go
Oh,
back"?
absolutely. I believe that the people who have worked in my life have been vessels, that God has used them as vessels in my life. And so I believe that God is using me as a vessel in others' lives. And, I know that there are a number of people whose lives that I've touched, whose lives that I've helped change, who look up to me, who are inspired by me. And, all I want to do is be a better today than I was yesterday. And so I really hope that my story will ignite the fire under someone else to want to do something different. And if you've come through some stuff and you've been able to make it on the other side, it is incumbent upon you to share that with someone, help lessen someone else's load, just by hearing your story and just by hearing, the courage that it takes to do. It took a lot of courage for me to write this book,
Oh yeah.
because I talked about some very personal things, and I had to have conversations with my children, so to make sure that they were okay about me revealing these things, and because I don't want to cause any more harm. And so it has been a journey. My kids and I, we stand strong together, holding hands. They're very, very proud of their mom, and I can see that, just in the graduations that they've been able to attend with me. And it has been a spiritual journey. I can definitely say that, and I hope to share that with someone else.
Because your story is also their story. And I've learned that the greatest way to defeat the enemy is when you tell your story, when you give your pain a voice, your trauma
Absolutely.
a voice.
Yes,
Because what
indeed.
a lot of times what childhood trauma does, it shuts you down and it shuts you up because you're
Mhm.
so afraid to speak on it
Mhm.
because number one, you're ashamed that it happened to you and you somehow take the blame, even though you
You
wasn't the
can read in my book.
offender. No, no, but I've been there.
Mhm.
So
Yes,
even though the offender offended you, you take on some of that blame. And so,
yes,
like for
amen.
me with my childhood trauma, I did not tell anyone until I was an adult. And the
Mhm.
church was my safe place to
Amen.
tell my testimony. The first time I told it publicly, I
Mhm.
had to preach and for a revival. And so that Friday I was up to preach. And this was so weird. That Sunday, me and the lady that was the MC, we got sick. We got so sick in church that we couldn't even drive home, both of us. And so we that was the attack of the enemy. And so the Lord did not give me a message. I kept praying fast. And you know how you be talking to God, God, I gotta
Mhm.
speak. I need
Mhm.
to know what I need to speak on. Nothing.
Absolutely.
And so this is so weird. When I went to Bible said, "Oh girl, we know you got a message, a powerful word for us." And I kept thinking, I don't have nothing. So I get up there, and then the Lord says, "Tell them your story." I said, "Okay." So I told him my story. So many women came to me and were like, "This happened to me." It was like we formed a connection. And that's why you have to keep telling your story. People will tell you you told your story too much. Everybody heard that story. You're lingering on your story, but that's not your story. That is your testimony. There's always somebody that when you say it, it frees them. It
Absolutely.
looses them. So if you're out there and you have a story that's powerful, listen, I don't care how many times you tell it. Tell it. I don't care how many times your
Amen.
friends are tired of hearing it. You tell it
Amen.
because God had you walk through that so that you can be a voice for somebody else's trauma. And Dr. Nichole, she is speaking loud for those that are in the prison system, those that are addicted, those that don't have a voice or have a voice and nobody listens. And you are somebody's voice out there. So don't let people shut you up because they don't understand that you have to talk about what you've been through so you can bring somebody
Amen.
out of what they are going through. So a
Mhm.
lot of times people be sitting on their pain, but when you speak on it, they can finally say, I found
Amen.
someone that understands me. So Dr. Nichole, don't you ever stop telling people how God delivered you from addictions, how God took you from behind, from the prison, from the pit to the palace. Yours is like a Joseph story. I love Joseph. He's my favorite character in the Bible besides Jesus, of course. But I have always connected with his story because of the attitude he had as he went through. I would have been complaining when that lady accused me of rape. I'd be like, look, wait a minute. I probably would have went off on her. I've been the worst prisoner. I'm like, nope, I'm not coming out myself. But he just understood everywhere he was at, he was to be used. And so with you, you got to understand wherever God send you to is for you to be used. And so I thank you for writing this book because even through I might not have went through the trauma that you went through. I went through childhood trauma. So when I read about your trauma and I see how you went through it, it tells me I can do it. It tells me that there's nothing in me to stop me from doing it. I
That's
don't
right.
have to be born, as they say, with a silver spoon, silver fork, silver knife, silverware set in my mouth. Put it like that. I just
Mhm.
have to do it, and I have to trust God to do it just like you did.
Amen. Hmm.
Just like
Absolutely.
you did. So you are such an inspiration to us all. If she is
Mhm.
an inspiration to you, I want you to put in the chat how her story has impacted you because after the show she's going to go look in the chat, and trust me, we all need encouragement because she's pouring into so many people that the world overlooked and that the people said their life can't be redeemed for the good, that they can't find, you can't do any good with you being a drug addict, you can't be any good being incarcerated. Those are lies of the enemy. They can do more good than us that's lived in the palace all our life. Because think about it, when God chose Joseph, he could have just chose Joseph from the family that he was. He came from a good family. He didn't have to go into prison. He didn't have to go through all the things he had, being in the pit, being in slavery, all that stuff. By the time he got to the palace, he was a felon. He was accused of being a rapist. He would have had to register as a child sex offender if it was today. But God used him not to save a town, not to
Mhm.
save a building, but nations. Nations. And that's what he's doing with you, Dr. Nicole.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. One more question for you. How can we help returning citizens from prison adjust? How can we, as their family, as their friends, treat them to make they or help them to adjust better outside of the gate?
Oh, just have some empathy. Have some empathy for what they might have experienced. Connect them to, vocational or any type of job opportunities. Help them with a resume. Help them create a functional resume if they can't put a chronological resume together. To have them look at the stuff that they did while they were in prison and being able to articulate that on paper. I used to say I could sell ice cubes to Eskimos. So, and that was in my disease. And so I'm able to use that very same tenacity and that very same, you know, I just uh, flip the script.
And now you're using it to get into
Yes,
doors.
yes,
All right,
absolutely.
Dr.
But
Nicole. So,
just yeah, just
uh-huh.
just just open, open arms. People come home. They just need an opportunity, right? You'd be surprised. Given that opportunity, somebody picking them up from the gate, could make the difference in what the rest of that day looks like. You know what I mean?
Amen.
Yeah.
All right, if you could give us a 2-minute closeout. Unfortunately, y'all, we at the end of another Ruby Girl Talk. And thank you, Nicole, for agreeing to be my
Thank
guest. It's
you.
so last minute, but you have done an awesome job and just have inspired us and just I just don't know what to say. You're just doing amazing things. And I can say that you definitely deserve to be
Mhm.
recognized as you was in June. And walking across that stage, I feel like you walked into something different, that you left some things behind, that you made peace with some things as you walked across that stage. And you keep doing what you're doing. You have no limitations except the
Mhm.
ones that you placed on yourself. And for you, I don't think you even place limitations on yourself.
I
So
don't.
give us a
Mm-mm.
2-minute closeout and make sure you give us your contact information, how we can connect with you.
All righty. Again, Dr. Nichole Pettway. It has been an honor and a privilege. Every day that I wake up with an attitude of gratitude, because I get to do the things that I get to do today. I get to go to work. I get to help someone make it through their day. And having an attitude of gratitude to me really helps me stay centered. It helps me stay balanced. I read something positive every morning, a daily affirmation. I do something every day to just remind myself of, all the blessings that God continues to place on me. And I feel like the more blessings that God continue to place on me, the more I am encouraged and urged to help someone else as well. My book, Against All Odds, is on Amazon. It is on Barnes and Noble and various other books. Against All Odds, a triumphant journey from addiction and incarceration. Please, if you do buy the book, leave a review on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, whichever site that you bought it on. Again, Dr. Nichole Pettway. My website is NicholePettway.com. And please feel free to reach out to me. And yes, I would just want to thank you. And, if nobody told you that they love you today, I would say get you some new friends in your life, because somebody should be telling you that they love you every day and embracing you for the amazing people that you are today. And so thank you for allowing me to share a bit of myself with you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you for that closeout. So I just want to say to everybody watching tonight, Dr. Nicole has given us a insight into those that maybe struggle, have went through things different than and she shows how if you just be resilient, and most certainly if you just trust God, that God can elevate you. God can use those rough patches to help you get up your mountain. So I just want to say to Dr. Nichole, thank you so much for pouring out, being honest, being transparent with us tonight. And
Mhm.
those that stay with us during the whole broadcast, I want to tell you I am so grateful for you and I love you. If nobody told you today, Dr. K is telling you, I love you. I
Mhm.
appreciate your support. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to our story. And I just encourage you, go out and get her book. Go out and get her book because this is her telling her story. And this might be just what you need to understand somebody in your family that has been in prison and you can't understand the struggle to get past that gate experience. It's not easy for everybody. Some people come out like Dr. Nichole running, like she said, she was good for 14 years, right? And then had like a relapse for a minute, but then she got up running again. So we have to have patience with people and have empathy towards people because guess what? It could be you. And you say, oh,
Absolutely.
it'll never be me. Do you think they said it was going to be them? Do you think they planned for it to be like that? So the enemy
Mhm.
has traps for all of us. All of us have fell into the enemy's trap some kind of way. So let's not judge someone, but help them and just have a little bit more patience. So reach out to Dr. Nichole.
All
Get
right.
her
Thanks.
book, Against All Odds, A Triumphant Journey from Addiction and Incarceration. So, Dr. Nichole, if you ever need to come back to the Ruby Girl Talk to promote anything, or you just want to show up as my guest, you are
Yeah.
welcome to come back. And I really
Yeah.
appreciate you tonight. Just hold on. We're going to sign off Facebook. Thank you, Facebook. I really appreciate it. If you have not shared, please share this live so that other people can connect with Dr. Nichole. So, Facebook, thank you so much. I'll be back next Tuesday. And if you want to be a guest, just comment below. I want to be a guest. I'm looking for my next guest for the Ruby Girl Talk Show. Y'all have a great and fantastic evening.
Thank you.